All right, it's Thursday, June 20th. This is an end of the day SPY recap, and today on the daily chart we end up with a 3-bar, meaning we took out the high of the previous day and the low of the previous day, starting out high and then moving lower and closing a little bit red. There's no real actionable signal going into tomorrow, the last day of the week. When we have a 3-bar, we don't know what to expect next. If we just make higher highs, lower lows, and then maybe going to start up higher highs in line with the big picture trend, or is it possible we try to move lower in line with the failure and expand into some higher time frame broadening actions, which would be down in this area if things want to go lower? If you look back on the chart, as I recall, there was this 3-day here near the highs, and again, we didn't really know what to expect next. We were kind of in this big trading range, and then the very next bar we stayed inside for a couple of bars, and we were monitoring what's going to happen there, and eventually things went down but then couldn't follow through, came back up into the range, and that was a signal to really start the next phase of the uptrend. So a lot might have to unfold here in the days ahead and the weeks ahead, to get a really strong signal. We know the trend's up, obviously, but we're a little bit of exhaustion risk here, and that's why today decided to kind of settle in a little bit. So if we look at the 15-minute chart and the opening price, the pre-market range was between the blue lines, and very first bar opened up green in between there, and then just sort of settled in. And you can see on bar 3 it was kind of a, you can kind of sense we were going to take out the low of the first bar right there towards the pre-market lows. Then things kind of stopped, a little bit of a red to green move. Now, if you would have, let's just say you're above the midpoint of the prior day, you had a little bit of a down opening, you want to buy that right here on a red to green, expecting it really to strongly come up, take out the first bar high. That's what we expect on red to green, was get to the intraday high, keep that trend going. You could see 1, 2, you had 45 minutes where things were starting to go your way, and then boom, a big red bar. And this red bar in here, first of all, on this first move down, if you would have really, the best red to green trade would have been if we took out those pre-market lows. That would have been the liquidity grab near the close of yesterday, and then we could have started up, but instead it didn't quite reach that. Also, as I described on some videos, there was only one stock that I actually traded. It was CRM that was having a strong move up. Almost every other stock I was watching was weak on the day. So, that's why I wasn't looking at this as a red to green move. I'm just saying, if you interpret it that way, you have to realize, not many stocks are moving up, and you really want to see it, vault up there, quick move down and then get right back in with the trend. Anyway, once it then had this 2 down red bar here, that was the sign to me, coming up to the midpoint of that, only to the midpoint of the first bar, going red, that you were going to take out that low, the pre-market lows. And once it did that, then it got through the halfway point of the prior day right here. So we failed, a 2 up day that failed, and then went to the lows of the prior day. And you can see that's kind of where things went, and that's where it stopped. So to me, from here to here was a very good trade to the downside. I actually traded NVIDIA to the downside with that same principle in mind. Again, given that it's a very narrow bar here, you couldn't start up, and once you came through the midpoint of that bar, you were going to take that out. So, the question is, where do things end up tomorrow? The weekly chart's still green at the moment. We'll see what happens. Maybe we come down and this gets into a shooter bar look. We'll know that by the end of the day. I don't know what's going to happen with this bar. We could just be kind of like this green area, this 3-bar area in here. Maybe we just consolidate a little bit tomorrow. It's going to be a tricky day, but I would, if we start down, I would go to the downside and see how much of a pullback we might get, and see maybe by the end of the week if this turns into a shooter bar, which then projects a little lower into the next week. So we can do that, but and the upside doesn't look great unless we gap up above the midpoint of this bar, and then kind of have the higher highs, the lower lows, and then start the higher highs. Maybe we close real strong on the week. So anything's possible. We'll see how the pre-market range unfolds tomorrow, where it is relative to this day, and what happens. But for now, it's just sort of a pullback day, and maybe we consolidate, or maybe we head a little lower in here. It's just tough to say. Nothing real actionable tomorrow. But today, like I said, I think it was pretty clear once the market opened and went down, and no other stocks were looking strong. You kind of you would have waited a little bit, in my opinion, until we really got above that first bar high to test that pre-market high. And once you start kind of grinding up for about an hour here, then the big big red bar. This to me was a good signal to test those lows and the pre-market lows, and then ultimately get through the halfway point of that prior day down to the prior day's lows. So that was the trade of the day. And again, it was clear if you really looked around the board, all these stocks that I follow that weren't doing well at the open. So that's how the SPY ends up, with a bit of a 3-bar, no actionable signal tomorrow, and it's more just going with the intraday structure. You know, if you want to try to trade tomorrow and see what might happen, we had exhaustion risk to the point where maybe we get a deeper pullback. It's certainly possible. I would give it a shot, but kind of know we really got to follow through and kind of get down something towards the open of the week here that turns that into a shooter bar. So if something develops to the short side, look for that as the context to know whether to hold on or not. Other than that, then we might have to just wait, like kind of in this 3-bar for a period of time to really know what unfolds, and kind of go from there. Again, if we come down, if we go inside or come down 2 down and then eventually come up, that's kind of a buy signal back in line with the trend, but that might take a little while to develop given this 3-bar. So let's just see what happens tomorrow and the week, but today it was a little bit to the downside.